She must be fucking him every day because he let her drive his car.
There was one cat, MacCity.com, Big Mike, that came to my motherfucking site, invited me to look at his motherfucking site and read his stories and so on and so forth, and we chopped it up.
Almighty Triple XL coming to you live record from MacCity.com.
So he's just the first person to say it out loud, but niggas have known this for generations.
Shit.
And speaking of swagger jacking, let me move on.
Let's move on.
I gotta give a shout out. I'm gonna give a shout out to Obsidian.
Okay.
His incessant citations of these books. If anybody would have a claim of swagger jack and a copyright infringement, it would be MacCity.
Okay.
You should really file suit. Because I'm sure that some of the stuff that you wrote in the journal section, in the article section, that shit precedes those books. I got a chance to look at it, and here's what I'm saying. Let me dial this back. I listen to Obsidian because he is extremely entertaining. We have, for the most part, I think our philosophies are in agreement for the most part. I would say about 75-80%. We just have stylistic differences in how we do things and our approaches. But one of the things he was always talking about was these evolutionary psychologists. So the first time he mentioned something about David Buss was, I think it was back in 2015. And so he kept mentioning this guy all the time. I said, well, let me go read it. You know, that's what he's mentioning. So I went and I got an ebook version of The Evolution of Desire. And it was a study of, human mating desire, why why mammals or humans make the mating choices, mating strategies that they employ. And I went through all of that, and all I got was an extensive vocabulary that is rather superfluous. And confirmation of some shit that I was already doing. Confirmation of shit that I already knew, but it was just in a scientific form. He just put it in a scientific format. But the outcome and the explanation was no different than, what I had already experienced. Okay. And I said, well, he can't be the only one. And then I went and read another book called Why Women Have Sex, which he co-authored with Cindy Meston. And I said, this is, how is this different? How is this any different? And then I went and read Dr. Donald Simon's articles and works and his treatises. And he precedes David Buss, by the way. Arguably, Dr. Donald Simons is the father of evolutionary psychology, not David Buss, but that's my opinion. And then I went and read another book called A Billion Wicked Thoughts. And that book, even though it was some, confirmation of some shit, it said it in a plain language format. Okay. And when I read that shit, I said, oh, this is MacCity. They owe us some money. They owe you some money. They owe you some motherfucking money.
Damn, dog. Okay.
And because what they were saying is that here's what they say, and I'm going to boil it down. I don't have the time to go into the shit for that, but here's what they say in essence. When it comes to raw physical attraction, women have two different cues. They have a physical desire cue, or not, let me not use cue. Women can get physically turned on, but not emotionally turned, not psychologically turned on. Women can be turned on physically, but they have a filtration process. They have a fail-safe switch, to where they filter their sexual choices through. So in other words, a woman may be turned on by you, but there's this little thing in her mind that says, is this moral? Is this right? Am I going to be shamed? Am I going to be called a slut? What's going to be the social consequences? Am I going to bear a stigma for this? Yeah, I'm wet and I'm turned on, but do I really want to do this? And what will happen is it creates a situation where a woman will be turned on, but then withhold back from her own climax. Because that psychological cue has not been satisfied. That psychological barrier has not been breached. So women have a physical thing and they have a psychological thing. Now, there are exceptions to that. They also talk about something called a transgression cue. What that means is women will do shit that is taboo and forbidden. They're adrenaline junkies, and I'm simplifying it. So in other words, if it is a taboo or a no-no to sell pussy, women will sell pussy or hoe because they take a certain delight in the fact that it is taboo. And it becomes pleasurable because it's taboo. You understand? So if women are hardwired in this lifestyle, if they're in a situation in this life, if they're in a situation to where they are physically, where they have to be in control and they have to be in charge and they have to be domineering, that beneath they secretly long to be dominated and made to submit. You understand?
Hey, stop. Okay, before you start, I gotta interject here before I lose my train of thought. You know, you're basically talking about evolutionary psychology and how Mac City is 10, 15, 20 years ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying? So basically you were saying that females, you know, they can get wet and they can get to the point where they're about ready to climax, but they withhold the climax and they don't want a nut, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, once again, I didn't have to read a book to find that out, because this is Mac City, and you know, it's like, bruh, I think I filmed maybe like 200 females, been in their house, met the baby daddies, met the childrens, all that kind of shit, man, you know what I mean, and did the porns with them and shit, and I would often run into that situation, man, where the female was obviously turned on, she was obviously wet, and she was obviously enjoying herself. But it was just perplexing me, you know, back in my younger days, because of course, I'm just now really jumping into this, and I'm just now really trying to figure out female feral nature. And I couldn't understand why all these broads, man, was trying their best not to bust a nut. They were clearly turned the fuck on, man, by doing the porn. They were clearly, and they wanted to bust, but they would not allow themselves to bust. You know what I mean? So when we have cats talking about you need citations and you need science, I would somewhat beg to differ. You know, well, actually, what I did was science. There's nothing better than what I did, because this is firsthand knowledge, firsthand information. I didn't read the shit in a book. I went out there in the streets, actually touched the broad. You know what I mean? Went in the bedroom, got her naked, and shit, from 2003 hardcore to 2012, bruh, I did this to numerous women. So can't nobody like cite shit to me in a book and say this, that, and the other. I'm like, nigga, I did it. I don't give a fuck about that book, nigga. You know what I'm saying? What?
The book verifies the personal experience.
Right.
The actual, here's, and before I get into that, not all the evolutionary psychologists agree on certain phenomena. There are some out there that actually say that women don't actually have orgasms. Right. Shocking as that is, they can't even agree on whether, when, and how women have orgasms. And another thing, and this is what it's not what I say, it's what they say. They say that 9 times out of 10, that there's studies that when they come out with these articles and treatises and books, these studies are necessarily small because they're dealing with a small group of people. And they also say that their own studies are not infallible because they depend on people telling them the truth. In other words, you sitting here asking the motherfucker about his sex life, you gotta trust that he's not telling you, or that he's telling you the truth, or that he's not withholding the truth out of fear of being shamed or stigmatized. You understand? So you may or may not be getting the truth from them when you're conducting these surveys.
Okay.
They may embellish, they may misrepresent, they may withhold, they may be outright dishonest about their sexual dating habits or their mating habits. This is what they confess to. So what they're saying is that evolutionary psychology, as numerous as it is with articles, as peer-reviewed as it is by academics and learned people and scholars, they will say that their field is not an imperfect science. It's what they say. And then another problem that they say that their pools, their study, their sample sizes are small. You understand? I think there was this thing that they said, well, David Buss did, surveyed millions of people. No, he took a survey. The surveys that were already taken that other scientists took. So in other words, if there was one psychologist here that embarked on a study that had 5,000 people, somebody here may have had 10,000 people. Somebody here may have had 20,000, 50,000, or 100,000. He took the studies of a bunch of other people and he experimented and came to a conclusion. He conducted his own experimentation, but his experimentation doesn't take place in the absence of what other people in his field have already taken or studied. So he got a bit of his shit. He got a bit of Dr. Simon shit. He got a bit of Cindy Meston shit. He got a bit of everybody's shit along with his to come to a conclusion about what he thinks is the evolution of desire. The only difference that separates David Buss from Max City is he got some initials behind his name. When you read that shit, when you read that evolutionary psychology and you understand what it really is, it's really some ratchet shit. It is as ratchet as it gets. It is scientific only in form and in how it is studied. But the act and the outcome is as ratchet as fuck. You understand?
Yeah.
So when they say what you going back to what you were saying, you said that these what you want to bust. Why don't you? Because they said women filter their sexual choices through that little fail-safe psychological switch that they have that controls that. What it really has to do is morality. You know.
Yep. They were conflicted because they was doing the porn.
Exactly.
They were turned on by doing the porn, but in the back of their mind, they was thinking, "What if my baby daddy see me?
Exactly.
What if my mama and daddy find out?"
Exactly.
Yep.
What if somebody on the internet see me sucking dick and take it up to the grill? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. And that's what that book, the best book I've read, and what I think arguably is the best one, is A Billion Wicked Thoughts. So I want to thank Obsidian for turning me on to that book, because it also explains what he says, but it also explains what he did not say.
Okay.
You understand? And what he did not say, or what he is just recent, let me not say what he did not say, or what he's saying recently, is that in those situations, they said women will engage in quite a bit of fuckery, and I'm just gonna dumb down the terms here to make it simple. Is that when women engage in fuckery, when women decide to cheat, okay, when women decide to cheat, or when they're going for something that is purely organic lust, if they're going for a motherfucker that's based on physical attraction and this their choice, they're going to choose. And this term was actually used in the book, jawline. They will fuck those dudes that have those characteristics that are the embodiment of testosterone.
Okay.
You know what that means? A muscular body.
Right.
A firm jawline. A tight ass, a six-pack. In other words, the stereotypical package that we see and that we attribute to a Pookie and Ray Ray.
Okay.
That is the motherfucker she will be organically attracted to, because those characteristics represent testosterone to her. So she is naturally attracted to that. But the story doesn't stop there. The story says, again, it explicitly says that is short term. What it says with respect to long term, women look at, can you provide? Are you going to be the type of person that's going to walk off from them? Are you going to abandon them? Women will typically, if it's organic lust, if it's that primal sexual lust, they're going to be attracted to the nigga that is in the uniform, the muscles, the six pack, the tight. They said tight ass in the book. That's what it says in the book, tight ass. And it says a square jawline, a square and firm jawline. But it says when women are looking for men long term, they're attracted to the following: can he provide? Can he protect? Is he abusive? Is he compassionate? Will he listen? So what they're saying is women divide men up into two categories. So by definition, that woman is going to diddy bop from one category to the next, but the nigga that can provide, protect, and will give her Dr. Phil moment, that's the motherfucker she ends up with. So what evolutionary psychology says is that when she come over there and sit on your couch and you give her her Dr. Phil moment, that's exactly where she's going to be. And when you put a dick in her mouth, that's exactly what it should be. Understand?
But once again, Mac City was doing this way before probably. When was this book written?
This book, I think one was written in 2010. Buses was written in 2010.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
And Mac City, how?
Well, what I'm saying is, nigga, they late.
Exactly.
They late, because me and you figured that shit out way before that book was written, nigga. Shit.
Back in 2003 and 2004. That's why I keep telling you, you got a claim, nigga, for copyright. You need to be suing somebody. You need to be suing somebody.
We figured that shit out long time ago, man. It's one of those situations where me and you was smart enough to flip the script. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what they're saying is they're gonna follow the nigga with resources. Let me break it down even further. Let me explain to you. I'm gonna say this really slow so you understand what I'm saying. The trick wins. Do you understand that? I'm gonna say it again. The trick wins.
Well, hold on, man. I don't know. We might be overstepping that a little bit, man. I don't know what, because once again, all tricks ain't created equal here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the situation that you have, because I know a lot of niggas that trick, man, but like they don't do it like me and you do it. You feel me? There ain't no rules and regulations and consequences and repercussions.
Let me refine the point. Okay. The dude that is the most stable.
Okay.
The dude that possesses authority. The dude that possesses normalcy. The dude that can provide a stable environment. Don't mean you have to be a sucker.
Right.
So I'm not saying just go out there and throw your money away and you gonna win. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. So I'm glad you brought me back there. Okay. What it means is that power tricking is the truth. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No
power
doubt.
tricking.
Gotta put some power in there, man.
Power tricking. Power tricking is better. Okay. So what do I mean when I say power? It means that woman is going to go somewhere to where that man can provide. So it's just like when Nicole Michelle said if she wanted to dig, she'd go for Derek Jackson. Mm-hmm. She said, but if she wanted long term, she would fuck with Obsidian. Mm-hmm. That's what the book says. That's the nature of the book. That is the essence. That's the finding of the quote unquote science. Mm-hmm. Long term, he wins.
And what do me and you do, man, as far as long term versus short term, man? You know what I mean? How these females been in our lives, for years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Years, man. And we have some damn good relationships with them too, man. Ain't no bullshit going on in our relationships, man. We demand respect and we get that shit.
Exactly. because again, I see that that's becoming a constant sticking point. They think that because you're giving a woman something that that you can't be respected when you give a woman something. Mm-hmm. It's not true. It's not true.
No,
it's not true. It's not true. Not true. That because you give a woman something, you can't. That's because our egos are all out of whack. A nigga ain't got shit left in this society but his ego. And then when you raised by, these single mothers, that shit is abysmal. Because their egos and their vanity is all over the place.
Hey, Dig, check this out. Hey, check this out, man. The contradiction of these newfangled so-called like thought leader ass niggas, man, is like talking shit about the trick bag, the trick game, man. These are the same motherfuckers that say they read the 48 Laws of Power. And these are the same niggas that always say, hey, you did hear, you need to despise the free lunch. Despise the free... Now, why would you despise the free lunch? You know what I mean? What is that about? You know what I'm saying? Because what we're talking about here is if you give a woman something, right, they saying that you're beneath the bitch, right? But isn't despising the free lunch
the same damn thing?
The same goddamn thing? So basically despising the free lunch is a power move, right?
It is.
But to these so-called brilliant niggas out here, because you do it under the guise of sex, or because you're giving it to a woman, somehow you're weak and somehow you're being gamed. But in the 48 Laws of Power, it's the opposite. But they don't see that.
Well, I'm going to give you a very simple explanation that you've said millions and millions and millions.
What you gonna say, nigga?
Low IQ. Low IQ. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's low IQ. It's
crazy.
IQ.
I can't believe these niggas. Oh, what's C Boogie say? The nerve of these niggas.
The nerve of these niggas. You understand? So, going back to the science says that in the end, the motherfucker that can provide that is the most stable, that's the one that's going to win. Okay. But what it is their egos won't allow them. Here's really how stupid you are. Mm-hmm. They don't want to fuck behind another nigga.
When they always gonna be fucking
behind another nigga. You understand?
Yeah.
Nobody say that's their ego talking. They don't want to fuck behind Pookie and Ray Ray or Tyrone. They don't, nigga. You will always be fucked. And here's what the book said. It went even further to say. It says when a woman cheats, when a woman decides to cheat or be unfaithful, she will be unfaithful with a nigga like that. And then it went on to say that doesn't mean that she loves her husband any less.
Okay. Wow, okay.
I thought that was some gutter shit. Man. It said that when a woman cheats, she will cheat with that type of nigga. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean now that sounds ratchet and harsh and fucked up on his face. That some other nigga can blaze your bitch. But what they're saying in essence is that nobody's safe.
But once again, this is something that I've always known because I've been over here like parlaying with bitches, man, for a decade. We be partying, having a good old time, man, and they be giving the most nastiest, sloppy toppy, most raunchy sex ever. But after we get done, they talk about how much they love their husband.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, these niggas talking about read this book and read what, nigga? What do I need to read?
What you need to do, you need to go and get a subscription to MacCity.com because you will get more valuable information out of the motherfucking videos than you will get out of those books. And they'll say, well, the books are the science. No, the videos are the science because the video, what you see in those videos and what you read on those journal logs is the hood nigga Section 8 version of what you're going to read in them fucking books. You understand? That's the same shit. It says that what they will do, they will cheat with a jawline nigga and still love their husband. Mm-hmm. And it also talks about why they do what they do with you. It talks about something called the billion wicked thoughts. It's called the transgression cue.
Okay.
Transgression cue, where women get off on doing things that they know that are forbidden, but it's pleasurable.
Oh yeah.
get off on doing shit that's taboo. And it says one very important factor. It says that in those instances where they know they will not be, I'm paraphrasing, in those instances where they know they will not be stigmatized for doing, or judged, in other words, let me not use stigmatized, where they know that where's a no judgment zone, in those avenues where they know that there will be no judgment, they will surrender to that taboo, because the taboo in itself is pleasurable.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to tell you, man, the whole concept that we came up with, man, where under no circumstances will we judge the broad. We will not judge, baby, be who you want to be. You know what I'm saying?
So
and the
Dr.
whole...
Fat Mac.
Say what?
Dr. Fat Mac.
Yeah, man. And, you know, the whole...
Ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and the whole taboo aspect of it, man, this is how strong it is, right? Once again, it's cool to read books, man, but don't nothing trump this firsthand experience, man. The taboo aspect is so strong. Once I would get one female, right, and she would, like, come to the park, and I'd make her run around the park naked, and, you know, I'd make her do something sexual out in the park, you know, just some totally taboo shit. She couldn't wait to run back and tell her cousins, her aunts, her mama. Before I know it, my phone is ringing with her cousins, her aunts, and her mama wanting to do something taboo out in the park. Nigga, what book do I need to read, Tony?
Dr. Fat Man.
What book do I need to read, man? I was like, nigga, come on, man. I've been doing... Bruh, I wrote this shit, son. I wrote this shit. Man, I'm trying to tell you, man, I cannot believe some of the shit I got away with. You know, I stumbled upon a lot of that shit. Of course, trial and error and on accident. Of course, I mean, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean? But if you dip your toe in the pool long enough, man, with enough broads, man, you start finding shit out. You start, and you like, oh, damn. You know, like, oh, it's like that? This is how they get down? Oh, man. So, yeah, man, I got cousins. I got aunts. I got mother, daughters. I got, you know, they all wanted to do something freak nasty, man. And all they needed was that excuse. They had to have that excuse, man. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do it without that excuse, man. Now, what that excuse could be, now, I know what the excuse was actually with me. It was under the guise of business, under the guise of porn. So they felt like it was okay because it was business. And that alleviated their guilt as far as them so-called cheating on their significant others, because it doesn't mean anything because it's just business.
That brings me to my next. Boy, you just don't know. You have no idea. And I'm glad I read them books.
Okay.
I'm glad I read those books. Excuse me.
Right.
I'm glad I read them. You know, and they also talked about that compartmentalization.
Wow.
It does. It talks about compartmentalization. And here's what they said about female compartmentalization.
Okay.
Women, although they may not like it, it is preferable if a man is sexually unfaithful as opposed to if a man is emotionally. They're more insulted by if a man is sharing his emotions with a woman than they are when he's sharing his dick with a woman.
Okay.
That type of compartmentalization. So in other words, yeah, they may not like you cheating. So a man will call a woman a slut if she cheats sexually. Okay? A woman will call a man a hoe if he cheats emotionally.
Okay.
So in other words, you can fuck a bitch, she just a fuck bitch, or she just a side bitch, or whatever the case may be. That's one thing. But when you fuck her and you start catching feelings for her and you treat her like your main bitch, to her, that's when you ain't no good.
Okay.
You know, that's when you hear women say, you may have had him once, but I got him all the time.
Right.
You remember that song?
Yeah.
It came out. You know, you had him once, but I got him all the time. They compartmentalize like that. Okay, yes, he may have fucked you, but he loves me. How many times have them bitches been fighting over who's your favorite?
Man, I used to get sick of hearing that stupid shit, man. You know, the main one who always used to kick that shit off was Nikki, man. She would always say, who's the best at this and who's the best at that and who's your favorite, and it would just whip all the other females up into a tizzy, man. And I would just be like, man, what are you, 6 years old? I'm like, look, man,
Mac City.
So what?
Mac City translation. Alpha bitch strategy. Anyone?
No doubt. Yeah.
You understand? That's what they're saying in that book. The alpha bitch strategy. They say it in different terms. Who is your favorite? And then, of course, you knew what you was doing. You didn't make it any better by putting up their butt ass naked pictures on your wall.
Right.
Yeah. So now when they come in, they're looking at all those pictures on the wall. And here's what they also said. Nothing strokes a woman's desire. And I'm paraphrasing. The book is quite extensive, so I'm just going over some major points. Okay. So I can't get everything. But they also said in that book, nothing stokes a woman's juices like competition.
Mac City, baby.
A nigga's sexual value is determined by whether or not other bitches want
it. If you would like to listen to the rest of this podcast, please direct yourself to my Patreon, www.patreon.com/MacCityLimits. Once again, www.patreon.com/MacCityLimits, or look into the description box and in the comment section for the link. This is where you will find past classic shows with me and Tony Maceo, and as well some new programs that have not been put out to the general public on YouTube. So once again, if you would like to listen to the rest of this podcast, please become a patron for the full show, as well as past classics and new productions as well. Well.